to see some interesting companies today in central London. It was fantastic in the technology industry, moving very fast.
Oh yeah, cool.
A company called Tide, really growing, really interesting. Smart banking, B2B banking for the next generation. If you think about it, banking hasn't actually changed a lot for businesses. It has for consumers recently with Monzo, Revolt, and everything else, but not for
apps and payment systems.
not for that. Let's have a look here. Cool. Live video. Right. Episode episode 39. Candidate Q&A. Trying a different microphone today. Okay, cool, done. Bonfire night in a couple of days' time up. You're going to go and take the kids to a bonfire thing?
Yeah, we are actually. I think it's one this weekend. Brockham, 50,000 spent on fireworks.
Wow, £50,000.
Yeah.
Right, 50 grand. Oh, there's a bit of a reflection today. Now we have to, so we're going to have to do the new setup coming out the window there. Going forward, aren't we? It's a bit reflective. Come in that shot a little bit. There we go. That's it. Fantastic. Great. Okay, great. There we go. There's a little bit better. We've got a lot of lighting now because obviously it's getting dark, isn't it? Right. Okay, fantastic. Okay, welcome to our Facebook Live show that we've got every Monday. It's a little bit bright behind me here, but with the lighting, but of course it's very dark outside now. Obviously with the clocks going back here in the UK, it's going to be dark in the evenings. Basically. It's a funny thing actually. Maybe people don't know, but actually there's this 1 week at the moment where between the US and the UK, the times don't change. They don't put their clocks back for another week after Thanksgiving, I think. So it's only 4 hours between London and New York at the moment. I know that because we just set up an interview. So, right, we've got questions today from 5 different people. So thanks for sending in your questions. If you wanted to ask us any questions, you can send us a message here on Facebook, or you could just email us at info@vineresources.com, or on Twitter or on Instagram. Inside Vine. We've got a question this week from a candidate called Jeeta. Jeeta is a project manager in Birmingham, and Jeeta is a great question, this one, and she just asked us what makes a CV stand out to recruiters. What do you think, Mark?
Focus, basically. So clearly, if you're unless you're picking up your CV to many opportunities, which probably isn't the best bet anywhere unless they're actually focused. I think it's all about having those core skills and experiences very early on, very clear, very concise. So for me, I'm looking for things to jump out at me that are in relation to the role that I'm recruiting for. So I'm looking for a real focus and ideally a tailored CV in line with the role that I'm recruiting for.
When you say that tailored CV, what do you mean?
I think
each role for.
I think you should take time to do it for each role. Certainly, I think because you want to really bring out what you've done in the past that's in relation to that specification or that job function. So I think it's definitely worth taking that time for sure. That really makes CV stand out for me.
Fonts, style, length, any of those kind of things?
I think it's difficult because I think you want to see a bit of personality in there. I think when a CV becomes a bit too sort of formulaic, it's hard to sort of get a bit of feel for the person behind it. And I think that's something that companies probably miss out a little bit. Sometimes they use templates, or some agencies use templates. Personally, I think it's a little bit more interesting to see a little bit about the person that's actually put that together.
One thing I was just going to say that came up, we know today, and perhaps often there may be things that you're working on, Jeeta, for example, or anyone, that you may not think are valuable or important to put on your CV, and I say that because there's lots of customer systems and technologies, maybe things that you haven't thought of that you might have had experience with, that people are searching for people with that experience.
Yeah.
So I would also be aware of what are the systems, what are the technologies, what are the vendors, what are the skills and experience you're using, and make sure that gets down, because apart from standing out, people may not have that on their CV and may get overlooked.
Yeah, I think just don't go on for hours, pages, but be descriptive. Talk about the projects that you manage, the project management role. Obviously, that's what Jeeta is. Talk about the vendors you work with. You say project size, team size, budgets is always a good thing. Sort of budgets that you've managed, again, it's always a good thing to include. Just be as descriptive as possible without go on too much. Keep it nice and short and snappy with regards to bullet points. But yeah, I think just bring that experience to the forefront that's in relation to specification.
Fantastic. We've got another question from Bavinda. Bavinda is a data scientist and asked us which industry is most interesting right now. I don't know if you've got any comments on that, Mark.
Most interesting right now. I mean, I think most of them that are involved in technology are quite interesting because it's always evolving. No, I mean, how are you finding? What do you think?
I think it's a really difficult to answer that, Bavinda, because it's obviously depends on really what you're passionate about as well. I think we're seeing, as Mark said, a huge demand in technology, and don't forget that technology could be a company that's in the healthcare market, in the medical market, in the banking market. We met a customer today in the insurance industry that are revolutionising and changing the way insurance is bought and sold using technology and looking for data scientists. So I think it really goes back to what are you interested in, perhaps what are you passionate about, and where you would enjoy spending your career. And I think there's a lot of companies at the moment obviously investing huge amounts into data. So I don't think that you'd go wrong on any of those.
No, I think it's something we see across industries, really, isn't it? Data, but certainly I think the telco market is using data more extensively than it had in the past, and obviously they gather extreme amounts of data on their customers and the user base. So yeah, I mean that's a good start, definitely. But yeah, as you say, I think it's cross industry. It's not particularly focused on one area.
Find out what you enjoy doing as well, Bavinda. But again, all around the e-commerce, all around the B2C, and now obviously I think there's going to be a lot more push around the B2B market as well. So it'd be interesting to see where your passion lies as well. Karen is a software engineer, and just asks, how many companies do we see requiring or requesting any kind of tests before the hiring decision?
Okay, I presume we're talking about technical tests, are we?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, okay.
I guess so. It could be more behavioural, but I suspect it's around a technical test.
It seems to be more and more common, and I think it depends on the skill set. So if it's quite a rare niche skill, I think it's probably not as likely because they're going to want to speak to that person, probably make allowances for maybe people that are lesser skilled and wouldn't want to put a test in place because it might rule out people that actually could train. Long term would be viable options. I don't know. I mean, it's not something I've come across much recently, but I think some of the guys here have certainly been asked to provide testing along with their applications for their candidates. Yeah, for sure.
I think also it depends on there's some people at one end of the spectrum that don't want to take a test. They don't feel that they should take a test. But you can appreciate it's also difficult for organisations to decide who is the right candidate. So even if you have years of experience, the quality of your work or the quality of your code may not be up to the standard of that organisation just because it is in your previous organisation. So it's very difficult for companies. A lot of companies will have tests in place, and that's their process, and that's what they want to stick to. Other organisations might not have the time to do that.
Yeah, and I think sometimes they're also looking at the tools you use as well, not necessarily the actual result and the coding itself. It's more about what you're using, the time you've taken to review something, the way you've described your project.
And your thinking process.
Exactly, and that's something we've certainly had in the past. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be put off by them. They are happening, and if that role is a role you're interested in, why would you excuse yourself by not even trying? So
absolutely,
yeah, certainly get involved.
Absolutely. We got a question from Gordon. He's a contract project manager in Amsterdam. Familiar territory for you, Mark. And wanted to know what normally happens is the best practice if someone is submitted for the same role by two companies. Yeah, okay. He's a contractor, and that's what he wants to know.
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think the sort of mindset on this has shifted a little bit because it used to be a case of sort of first come, first serve, but actually I think these days companies are a little bit more mindful of actually you having the right discussion as from an agency point of view with that candidate. Now, is the candidate fully aware where their CV is going? Have you discussed the role in detail? Have you vetted that person? So have you taken the time to actually go through the role and their skill set and suitability for the position, and therefore they tend to be a shift more towards okay, fine. Have you got the guy's permission? Have you got proof of the person's permission? Have you discussed this specific role with them? And is there evidence of that? So I think it's a bit fairer in that people doing the job properly should have those conversations and got that approval.
I think that's a great point. And of course, Gordon, I'm guessing this has happened to you from just asking us that question. And from a candidate perspective, obviously, it's not good because it doesn't look good on yourself as much as the companies. It could damage your ability to secure that job. I'd also say, you know, in any candidate's defence, there may be times where they're contacted by two companies and they've just forgotten, they can't remember who they're being sent to. So I'd also, you know, very simple, make sure you document the companies that you're being put forward to, whether that's, you know, a Google Doc or a future app that's waiting to be developed. But knowing where you've had your CV forwarded to and keeping a track of that, I think, is really important as well, so you don't have a double submission for a company.
Well, and also for you to follow up and for feedback.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely make a note where your profile is heading.
Final question from Jeff. Jeff is, I think he's in Manchester actually. Jeff asked us, do people pay attention to cover letters anymore, or are they a waste of time?
It's a good question. I certainly do. Again, so if you haven't had the time to refocus the whole CV around the application you're making, then yeah, you've got an opportunity to do it there. You know, we will provide additional detail on you to the customer. So it's best if we have that from you for us to provide that info to them. However, obviously something we'll pick up from a conversation, but if there's something that you've got there that you know, kind of highlights why you think it's a good role, why not include it? It's going to increase your chances for sure. But yeah, what's your comment on that?
I don't know, it's a difficult one, and I think it really depends on the role, Jeff. I'm not sure if you're in a permanent or contract role. Clearly, obviously, if it's a contract role, generally that's not the case because it's just faster moving and people don't have the time to do that. But certainly if it's for a permanent role and you feel that you want to add some side note, or I don't even want to call it a cover letter anymore.
I think just the content of the email would suffice. So
something that really draws the highlights of why you are right for that particular role and that company, and you can show that you've done some research and your homework to show why you are right for that company.
Yeah. So we don't see too many that have an actual cover note and stuff, but it's usually the content of the email with the CV attachments.
So I've seen some people just write some really great emails where they've added some value about why they are right for that company or why they could be right for that company. So I don't think there's a right or a wrong, Jeff, but I think maybe just thinking of it rather than a cover letter, think of it as rather a marketing or a marketing letter that helps to facilitate your role, your chance of getting an interview at that company.
Yeah, and if you're making focused approaches, I mean, why not take the time out? It can't be a negative thing, it can only be a good thing, so yeah.
Absolutely.
I would certainly include it.
Okay, thank you very much for those questions this week. Obviously now we're, I think I just said yesterday, about 57 days till Christmas, so it's going to come around very quickly, very quickly. And then the year is out, so that's 2018 almost on its way out. If you've got any questions, again, jump onto us on Facebook and we'll try and answer them every Monday, and hope you have a good evening.
Have a good evening all.
Cool, thanks guys, all done.